All right. 10.1, guys, the rectangular coordinate grid. That is the college or advanced way. It's actually what it's really supposed to be called, but high school teachers kind of just call it the coordinate grid or graphing grid. But it is actually called the rectangular coordinate grid. So the vertical axis, it's called the y-axis, and know the difference between vertical and horizontal, right? Because that's going to help us out as we move forward in our math. So the vertical axis is called the y-axis, where the horizontal axis is called the x-axis. So we have the horizontal and then the vertical. Now recall, remember the word recall means you're bringing this back from the past because you should have been exposed to it already. An ordered pair is an XY coordinate for 1 point. It's for 1 point. So X and Y, right? So parentheses, X comma Y parentheses. That is the format. That is how we write points or ordered pairs, okay? We're going to utilize this in the next slide. Now, are there any questions or anyone need more time for this slide? All right, let's go ahead and move on. Next slide. Now, quadrant one. So you don't have to draw another graph. You can use the same graph that you drew here in your notes, the stuff that you wrote in here. You can just include this stuff in there. So quadrant one is the first one to the right here, the top right. Then we have quadrant two, quadrant three, and then quadrant four. The origin is right here, the point in the middle right here, which is known as 0, comma 0, which I want you to set up into your notes for me. All right. Does anyone need more time to label their quadrants and origin point before I move on? Now, it's very important that you understand the terminology that's being expressed in these lessons, guys. Very important. Because the setup for these quadrants in this class will be the same setup for the next class, even for the next one, actually for all math classes. So this is kind of important information. All right. Here is the first example. Now for this example, you're going to go ahead and just make a sketch of the graph, right? Draw your X and Y axis. I'm going to draw it over here. This is how you're going to draw it in your notebook. Don't worry about the words yet, right? So you're going to draw a vertical line and then a horizontal line. Draw your arrow and arrow. And then you see this going down, then up, not up, and then down. See how it matches it? And then put the 80,000 here next to this line. And then we know this bottom line here is 40,000. And then right here, we're going to draw the x-axis. So down here, and this line is right here, is in 2001. So that's 2001. And it starts off in 1998. So then we have 99, 2000. And then we stop at this right here is 2002. Up here is 2003. And the last one is 2004. Now, if you want to draw lines going down to your X values, you can. Doesn't really matter. This is a sketch. We're making a sketch, you know. Now, for the sentence in your notebook, I want you to go ahead and write these two sentences. It says the following line graph shows the attendance at an annual event from 1998 through 2004. 1998, 2004. Estimate the attendance at the annual event in 1999. So we're gonna have a specific year we want to follow. I'm gonna follow this one here. Now on my math lab, you're just gonna put your pencil there and then go up and then look at it here. So check it out. So this line is 60,000. This is in the middle. So that's pink line right there is 70,000. So what's in the middle between 70 and 60, guys? Anyone want to take a guess of what's in the middle of 60,000 and 70,000?
65.
65,000. There are 65,000 people in attendance. And we're done. I'll give you a moment to copy this down. I'll add 2 minutes to the timer and then move on, unless anyone needs more time. All right, guys, that was the 2-minute timer. Anyone need more time to write this example though? Anyone need more time? All right. All right, let me know when you're good to go, Joshua. Sorry. All right. Now here's this practice problem, guys. For this one, you don't have to draw it in your journal just because it'll be an intense thing to draw. But go ahead and work it out and look at the computer screen and looking at the graph and try to see if you can figure out the answer. So the question says, the line graph shown to the right shows the attendance at each championship football game from 1995 through 2003. Find the year on the graph with the least attendance and approximate the attendance. So when they want us to find the least attendance, guys, what does that mean in terms of the graph wise? What are we looking for the least attendance? If you have read this problem, what would be your mindset?
The lowest point.
The lowest point. Can anyone tell me from their vision where they see the lowest point in this graph?
2003.
Yeah, in 2003, right? This is pretty low. Now, if you were to approximate the attendance, how much would you say showed up? Is it closer to 69,000 or closer to 68,000?
$69.
Yeah, 69,000. And we're done. Anyone have any questions on the logic that we use for this example, guys, or this practice problem? Anyone have any questions or concerns? All right, no need to concern yourself on writing this one just because the graph is pretty intense. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get into some other examples here. So it says here, plot the ordered pair 1, 2, state in which quadrant or on which axis the point lies. So I'll give you about a minute to write the sentence. And then, so for you guys, since you don't have this graph on my end, I guess I'll go ahead and join you and not have a graph either. So let's do it without the graph. Because I want you to learn how to draw a graph, right? So the first thing you do is you draw your y-axis. So you draw a vertical arrow, and then you draw an x-axis. And then I like to make sure remember, you're in college now. So if this was high school, I wouldn't have cared how it looked, if it was wobbly, not wobbly. I want you to be as straight as possible. Now me, I'm writing on a tablet, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage here. Well, I guess I could kind of use a ruler on my tablet, but let me see. My rulers have been removed from my desk because of the little ones are probably doing arts and crafts and they get so comfortable in my office. Okay, not a big deal. So mine as straight as possible. You guys should have a ruler in the school supplies list. Hopefully you got one. But if not, try to be as straight as possible. Luckily, not turning these in, so it's not going to be a grade. But in case you have a professor who wants you to turn in your homework and stuff like on paper, you need to make sure your graphs are on point. Like they're straight edge, you're using rulers, the arrows are on point. Like be consistent. After you draw your axes, label them X and Y. So when you do the little dashes, try to be as equal as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna go up to 5 on both sides. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We set it up. And now we want to plot the point 1, 2. Can someone share with me how we look at this 1 and 2? What's X and what's Y?
X comes first.
Yep, X comes first. So X is 1. So I'm gonna label my numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to write these numbers in there, but you want to get to know where like the numbers are at, right? Because that's gonna help us out here. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, +1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're gonna plot this point now. X is 1. So is X is 1? Are we gonna look at the x-axis or the y-axis? We're gonna look at the x-axis, right? X is a +1, so I'm gonna move to the right 1. So I'm at X is 1, but the Y is a +2. Class, will I be going up or down for a +2?
Up.
Up. So I go to 1, 2. Notice how the X is at 1, the Y is at 2, and there we go. Our point 1, 2 is plotted, and we're done. And now we're not done. The second part of the problem says, state which quadrant it's in or what point, what axis it's on. So is it on an axis or is it in a quadrant? What do you guys think?
Quadrant,
Yeah, which quadrant?
the first.
That first one. So you're gonna write the point 1, 2 is in quadrant 1. And we're done. That is the other part of the problem. So we have to say what it is and we're in graphic. Any questions on plotting a point? All right, yeah, ready to try out a practice problem? Is anyone still writing before I move on? All right, next one. Good luck. Make sure you do have to create a new graph for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about 2 minutes and I'll add more time if you need it. How many of you guys remember how to graph from back in the day? I think graphing was like definitely middle school and high school. That's good, Jacob. That's good. I'm glad somebody does. And if you don't, that's okay, right? The thing is you're in this class, right? So whether this material is new to you or old to you, as long as you're comfortable with reading the problem and being able to execute the way I did it on the example or in your way, right? But to get the right answer. That's the point here. All right, guys. Anyone need more time than the 2 minutes to finish this off, guys? Anyone would like an extra minute or two? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and work it out. So -2, 0. The x is -2, so I'm gonna go to the left 2, and y is 0. So 0 means I don't go up or down, I stay there. So hopefully everyone got the point on the same area on your graph as well. Now, quick question. Would anyone like to share which quadrant or axis the point lies? Is it in a quadrant or is it on an axis? I'm gonna start the sentence, the point. -2, 0. Can anyone share what would be after this?
It lies on the x-axis.
It lies on the x-axis. That is correct. Thank you. Anyone have any questions on how to do either of these problems, the graphing or the statement? Correct, Joshua. Make sure you include the which axis though, okay? Because there's two of them. So we want to make sure we're very direct when we put the statement, okay? All right. Anyone have any questions on this practice problem before I move on? All right, now the plot changes. The last one we had to graph it. Here we have to find it. So go ahead and I'll give you a minute to set up the question and the graph onto your notebook. And then we'll go ahead and work it out. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the point. Look at C. You can see that it lies on the x-axis, right? It's 1 over from the origin. Now, what number is to the left of these of 0? Negative what? -1, and that's the x value. Notice how we're on the x-axis. So if we're on the x-axis, guys, am I going to go up or down, or since it's on the x, what's my y gonna be? Is it 0, +1, -1? What are your thoughts for the y? Because remember, we need an x and a y, x and a y. You want to write it as an ordered pair, which is parentheses, x comma y. So we know the x is -1, but since the y is on the x-axis, the y has to be 0. So the ordered pair, the coordinates of C are -1, 0. All right, anyone need more time to write this before I move on? All right, here is a practice problem, guys. Good luck. I'll make this a little bigger. And you're gonna write the order pair in the chat, the proper format, okay? And then don't press enter until I announce it. I'm going to give you about a minute to work on this one. I'll add a minute in case you want to write it down. So 2 minutes. All right, a few more seconds to go, guys. Anyone need more time to work on this before I have you guys press enter? Anyone need more time? All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3, press enter on the solution. What is the order pair you got for coordinate C? Excellent, guys. Excellent, excellent. Good, good, good. Good. All right. Good job, guys. Very good job. Let's move on. So we finished the first lesson, right? The first one's just about the graphing points and just knowing the graphs, right? Where it's at. Now we're going to talk about graphing linear equations now. So go ahead and I'll give you about a minute on this slide. Now you can kind of tell how the homework's going to be like based off of the notes. So if the notes went pretty well for you, the homework should go pretty well. Now, if you do run into any obstacles, remember you can always send me a picture of the problem, and that's why I was able to work it out in class. Now I will normally what I do that I'm sorry I didn't get to do with the student who emailed me the problem is normally I'll look at the problem, I'll get a piece of paper, set it up, I'll plug in what they give us, and then I would work out all of it, and I'll send her the first part of the proper setup, and then I'm gonna write in the email, hey, I'm gonna send a second picture with the answer and the problem worked out. Make sure you are able to connect the two pictures, make sure you're able to understand why I did what I did, plugged in what I plugged in, and solved the way I solved. Okay. So standard form of a linear equation. So this is gonna be one of the formulas. So there's a total of 3. So this is the first one, number 1. Standard form of a linear equation, which is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers. So a, b, c are going to be any real numbers. All right, anyone need more time to write this formula down? All right, let's see how the problems look. Example. I'm gonna give you about a minute, or actually, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to set this up. So again, or 3 minutes. I'll do 2 minutes. I'll add more time if we need more time. So for the equation, find three ordered pair solutions by completing the table, then use any two of the ordered pairs to graph the equation. Okay. So write the two sentences, write the equation, draw this little table in your notebook, have some space to work, and then you can set up the graph to the side. Make sure you have a good amount of space in between the table and the graph, because we're gonna do some algebra in the middle. Go ahead and start the 2-minute timer for you to set it up, because it is a pretty long problem. And then we're gonna go and work through it, okay? All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start it out. So we want to find three ordered pair solutions by finishing up this table. Then use any of the two, only need two to make the line. All right, so look at this first row, guys, this first row. What's missing? What do we know? For the first row, right here, the first row of the table. What do we know and what's missing? What do we need to find?
X is missing and we have Y is 0.
Exactly, thank you. X is missing, so we want to find X, so we want to find X. So let's write it to the side here. We're gonna find X when Y equals 0. That's exactly what we heard, and that's what we see. So we want to find X, so we write X, plug in 0 for Y, so minus 0 equals 5. Everyone agree that we plugged in what we know, and we still see what we need to find. X is still there. Now we simplify this using algebra. Well, X take away 0, that's just X, right? The 0 is nothing. And bring down the equals 5. And we finish the first row. X equals 5. We're using the same formula. Look at the second row. What do we know? What do we want to find? And what do we know? What do we want to find? What do we know? Anyone else would like to share? Or anyone really? For the second row.
2's X and Y is missing.
There you go. So Y is missing, 2 is X. So we're gonna find Y when X equals 2. Find Y because Y is missing when X equals 2. So then X equals 2. So instead of X minus Y equals 5, Instead of X, I'm gonna plug in X for 2, so it'll be 2 minus Y equals 5. Because we don't know Y, right? But we know X is 2. So let's go ahead and solve for it. So guys, tell me, how do I get Y by itself? Remember, do we know how to solve equations? Yeah, we've done that already. So can someone share with me the next step? How do we get Y by itself? How do I move a positive 2 to the other side? By subtracting it. What we did to one side, we did to the other. The 2's cancel out. Bring down the negative Y. 5 take away 2 is 3. We're not done yet. Y is not by itself. What number is invisible in front of the Y that we have to move? Negative 1. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 1, thus giving us Y equals negative 3. Box your answer, and that goes in right here. So now we're on the last row of the table. We don't know X when Y is negative 3, so we're gonna find X when Y equals negative 3. So we have the formula X minus Y equals 5. So X minus negative 3 equals 5. Can someone tells me what happens when we have two negatives? Two negatives makes a what? A positive, right? Now how do I move a positive 3 to the other side? By subtracting it. So then we get X equals a positive 2. And we're done. So now we have the whole table. Now that we have the whole table correctly, we now only need 2 points to get the graph there. So 5, 0, go to 5, 0. So X is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you should be drawing your graph if you haven't drawn it yet. 5, 0, and then X is positive 2, Y is negative 3. Once you have your 2 points, get your ruler and then just connect your 2 points. Make sure you go through the entire graph like I did. And then do not forget to draw your arrows at the edge of this line. Because the arrows would inform us that they never stop growing. Anyone have any questions on any of the steps? On the table, on the algebra, or the graphing? Anyone have any questions at all? Does anyone need more time to copy the work down? All right. Because here is your practice problem. Try it out yourself. Go ahead and give you guys about give you about 4 minutes. Good luck. All right, guys, 4 minutes have gone up. Anyone have, need more time to work before we talk about the answers? All right. All right, guys. So what'd you get for the first X value? Anyone want to show what they got? What did they get for the first X? Three. Good, good, good. If you got a 3 for the first X, correct. Anyone want to share what they got for the Y for the second one? Okay. Okay, Kayla's -4. Anyone else? For the second one, for when X is 1. We have -2. That's a mathematical debate. So let's look at what it is. So we plug in X for 1, right? So we get 1 minus Y equals 3. Can someone, and then we have a +2. So let's look at the work here. So we have 1 minus Y equals 3, guys. So we need to get Y by itself. So can someone tell me how we move a +1 to the other side?
Subtract 1.
Subtract 1. We do that on both sides, right? So then we have -Y equals 3 take away 1 is +2. But we notice that Y is not by itself yet. So at that point, guys, we had to divide by a -1 to cancel out the negative. So then we get Y equals a -2. And that is the second Y value right here. Hopefully that clears up any confusion to the students who did not get -2. All right, would anyone like to share what they got for the X for the third one? So for the next one is a +2. Good, good, good. Now, question, guys, do y'all think it matters which 2 points we use to make the line? Do you think if we choose the first 2 versus the last 2, or the first and the third, or the second and third? What do you guys think? Do you think it'll change the line if depending on which points we use, or do you think it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. If you lined all 3 of them up, they do the same line.
Exactly. Thank you for that comment. If you can plot all of them if you want, but on the homework, it'll only take 2 to make the line. So just use any 2 points, right? But if you wanted to, you can actually do all of them right here. So I just did all 3 points right here. And look at that, they all align on the same line. I'm not good at drawing lines. So let me just go through them right here. And voila, we have the line. All right, any question on this practice problem before we move on? Does anyone need more time to write anything, or anyone have me to work out anything specifically? It's nice, right, to use stuff that we've learned already, like solving equations, plugging in things. That's all stuff we've covered already. So it's nice to kind of apply it, right, to a different concept. We haven't done this at all. We've never talked about this, but is it the same type of math we've done? The only thing that's new here is just the graph and making a table, but we have solved equations, we have plugged in things. So it's nothing new, right? Just a couple of stuff. All right, let's try it again. Another same example, but now we have a different equation in a different table, different values. So I'll go ahead and give you about, well, it's a good amount of time to help you set it up. Was 2 minutes enough? Is 3 minutes better? What would be a good amount to let you set up this problem? 2 or 3? All right, I'll do 3 minutes and then we'll go ahead and work it out, okay? See you talk to you in 3 minutes. I'm here still though. All right, 3 minutes, guys. Let's go ahead and start working this out. So same concept, right? We have the equation y equals -2x plus 6. For the table, what do we know and what do we need to find, guys? Anyone want to share what they know and what we need to find for the first table row? We're gonna have to find y when x equals 0. So notice how we're gonna have to find y for all of them, right? For different x values, right? So we're gonna do y equals -2 parentheses 0 plus 6. when you have a number next to a letter, remember they're gonna be multiplying. Even when you plug in the number, we're still multiplying. -2 times 0 is 0, plus 6 equals 6. So y equals 6 when x equals 0. Second row is we're gonna still find y like we established earlier, but this time when x is equal to 1. And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and plug it in. So then we get y equals -2 parentheses 1 plus 6. Well, -2 times 1 is -2, bring down the plus 6. -2 plus 6 is +4. So y is equal to 4 when x is 1. Last row, guys, we're gonna find y again, right? When x is equal to 2. So then we get y equals -2 parentheses 2 plus 6, which equals to -2 times 2 is -4 plus 6, which equals to +2. So now we have the points. We only need 2 to make the line. So 0, 6. So x is 0. So that's right here at the origin, 0, 0. I'm gonna go up to 6 for 0, 6. And then 1, 4. Now, since we're not doing it on my math tab, you only need 2. But here we can put all of them that we want, right? All 3 that we found. And then just connect these dots. And then draw your arrows. And we're done. Any questions on any of the parts here? The tape, the logic behind the table, the solving the equations, like plugging it in, solving for the letter, or graphing? Any questions at all on any of these? Okay, good, good. Thank you, Kayla. Anyone need more time to copy this before we move on? All right. Here is the practice problem. Oh, nice, nice. That's good, Kayla. I'm glad you're able to reminisce, right? And I hope you had some good memories, right? I hope you were able to learn some of this material and be able to, remember some of it as you work through these examples. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys 5 minutes this time, right? 3 minutes to write, 2 minutes to work it out. Good luck. Alright, anyone need more time to work on this before we start talking about it, guys? An extra minute or two, anybody? Alright, anyone wanna show what they got for Y for the first one? The first row? We got threes, lots of threes. If you got three, you are correct. The crowd goes wild. Alright, would anyone like to share what they got for the second row? Excuse me, I just like hiccuped and burped and then kind of hurt. -1. If you got -1, you are correct. Alright, so far so good. What about the last row, guys? The last row. -5, -5, -5. If you got -5, you are correct. Good job, guys. So far so good. Anyone have any questions, concerns, or would like me to work out any of the table values, any of the rows? Would anyone like me to work out any of them specifically? Speak now. All right, now we graph. We've established, doesn't matter which ones we do, right? So 0, 3, X is 0. And then 3, we go up 3. That's the first point here. Then we do 1, -1, which is down here. And then 2, -5, which is down here again. It's gonna be a very steep line when we're going downwards, okay? And we're done. Anyone have any questions on this practice problem? Notice how I go through the entire graph. Don't just do this, guys. Don't just make a little tiny line and be like, oh, that's my line, guys. That's my line, professor. I feel good about it. No, no, you want to go through the entire graph that you draw, okay? All right, let's move through. Next slide. So now we're gonna learn about a different type of function, right? We're learning about the constant function. I'll give you about 2 minutes to set up this slide into your notes. It wants us to the constant function, f of x equals c, where c is any real number. It's gonna be a linear function that has a 0 slope with a y-intercept 0c, and it's also a horizontal line. So it has a lot of information right here. So I'm giving you a few minutes to copy it down, and then we're gonna go ahead and graph it. We're gonna apply this logic to graph this equation, okay? All right, let's take a look now. We're gonna apply this. So we know when we have f of x, and remember, f of x means y. So f of x equals c is the same thing as y equals c, right? It's the same thing, all right? Now, c is any number, so c can be 5, 10, 11, negative 11, 100, 1,000,000, 1.5, 1.35. C could be anything. And we need to remember, it's always gonna have a zero slope. So it could be any number, 5, 7, 12, 45. It's gonna be zero slope. And it's gonna be y-intercept at 0c. So whatever the number is, that's the y-intercept, 0 comma that number. And it's gonna be a horizontal line. So look at y equals 5, this example, y equals 5. What's the y-intercept? Well, it's 0c, right? So it'll be 0 comma what number? 5. Because remember, y equals c, c is a c. So go to 0, 5. Boom, plot your first point. Now remember, what do we know? We know the constant function is a horizontal line. So draw your horizontal line. And you're done. What questions do we have on graphing a constant function, guys? And now you know a zero slope is a horizontal line. So if a word problem tells you graph a line with a zero slope going through this point, then we know zero slope automatically implies horizontal line. Anyone need more time to copy this example down before I move on, or this slide down before I move on? All right, let's finish off. So here is a practice problem on you graphing a constant function, guys. Good luck. I'll go ahead and give you guys about 3 minutes. Good luck. All right, guys. So can anyone tell me how would you graph this point? Where's the first point that we know we can graph? That is known as the Y-intercept, right? The Y-intercept is where it crosses the Y-axis. Well, can someone tell me what order pair that would be? Knowing this function here. Oh my gosh, show me that you know how to graph a constant function. So what's the first order pair knowing y equals -3? Or how did you do it? How did you know where to graph it? If you don't want to tell me the y-intercept, anyone want to share the process they did to figure out where to graph it? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call on someone. Let's say. All right, Riley. What's the first point to graph this constant function? It's y equals -3. How'd you do this practice problem, Riley?
I'm not sure on it. That's why I was observing it.
Okay, so you don't know where to start?
Don't you just put the coordinate on -3
On which axis though?
on the y-axis, so you're going vertically?
Okay, it's on the vertical one, right? And you
Yeah.
said -3, is that above the x or below the x?
Below the x.
Right? So -3, right? So it'll be between -2, then -3, -4, right? Okay,
Mhm.
good. Now that we plot it, what's next?
Don't you just draw the line vertically, or
Vertically or horizontally, or how would you draw it?
personally vertically?
You said, so vertically is up and down. So that's the way you drew it?
Yeah, that's, I don't know if that was correct though.
Let's go back to the other side, right? The information side. What kind of line is a horizontal, a constant function? What kind of line should it be?
Oh, horizontal. Okay, I see.
Horizontal. So let's go back over here. So now how would you change the line now?
To go just horizontal.
Horizontal. There you go. Does that make better sense now?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Riley, how do you feel about it?
Better. I put it on the wrong axis before. That's
Ah, there you go. So remember, y equals, so y equals y-axis. So let's make a note, right? So note, plot the point on the vertical axis or y-axis, right? Know the difference from both, right?
So these are always gonna be horizontal lines?
Always, yes. And the way you know is, so no, plot the point of vertical axis, and this is only for when we get y equals a number. That's the only time we get horizontal lines, if it's y equals a number. If you ever get x equals a number, that produces a different equation, a different line that we'll cover later on, okay?
Okay, thanks.
So if you want to include that in your note, y equals a number is always a horizontal line. That's because with only just a number, okay? If there's an x involved, that changes everything, okay? And the only reason is only if it's a number by itself, which is called a constant function, right? Constant function, that's what it's called. And it's okay to know the name, right? I actually encourage you to know the names of these functions. It actually makes a difference after you leave my class. All right, anyone need more time to copy this, or am I able to move on to the next slide? Okay, next slide. All right, one other example, let's go. Then we'll take a break to finish off this lesson because we have one more lesson to go, but we're gonna stop, but we're gonna do this slide first. Slope intercept form. So now we have the second formula that I'm giving you. So I'll give you the first one, standard form. Now we're learning slope intercept form, where M is the slope and B is the Y-intercept, which is 0 comma B. And then we're gonna graph this equation. Now we are gonna have to make a graph, a table, I mean, like we did the other examples. So it's X column, Y, and we're gonna do for X is 0, 1, and 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about 3 minutes to set this up into your notebook, and then we'll jump in, okay? If you wanna start it after 3 minutes, you can go ahead and get onto it, okay? I'll see you in 3 minutes. All right, guys, let's go ahead and work it out. So hopefully I had enough time to write it out, right? So we're not gonna mess with this formula yet on how to use it to graph. We're just gonna go ahead and stick to the table since we feel better with it. We know how to use it. So we know we're gonna be plugging in these values for X to get the new Y. So we'll get Y equals 2 parentheses 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is just 1. So that's the first y value. We're gonna go ahead and plug in the next one. 2 parentheses 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. So that's the second one. Then the last one is y equals 2 parentheses 2 plus 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So now we have 3 points. Go ahead and graph them. 0, 1 is right here. 1, 3 is right there. And 2, 5 is right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and just connect them. And then draw them through the entire graph and then draw your arrows. Any questions on how we graph this equation, guys? Any questions at all? Would anyone need more time to copy this work down before we move on to the next slide?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
And let me know when you're good to go.
Can you scroll to the bottom problem real quick?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Anyone else need more time, guys? Anyone else? All right, we're on the last lesson, guys, for today. So I'm going to give you a 5-minute breather. Actually, I'll make it 7 minutes because you guys kind of worked through 2 lessons right now. So I'm gonna give you a 7-minute breather, and we're gonna go ahead and jump on in 7 minutes. If you finish your break before 7 minutes, go ahead and start writing out the slide. I'm gonna pause the recording. Go ahead and start recording. So we know a linear equations in 2 variables can be written in this form: ax plus by equals c. We know that. We know a horizontal line is in y equals c, where c is a constant, and constant just means a number. Vertical line is in the form x equals c. So that's the difference from horizontal is y equals c to vertical x equals c. Well, x-intercept is a point where the graph crosses the x-axis. Y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. Now, next to x-intercept, guys, I want you to write the word or the order pair x0. For the y-intercept, I want you to write 0, comma, y. That is how all x-intercepts look like x0, and all the y-intercepts look like 0, y. All right. Anyone need more time on this slide before I move on to the next slide?
Yes, please.
I'm gonna go ahead and add a minute or 2. Which one would be better, 1 or 2?
2.
2 minutes starting now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would anyone else need more time to write these, to write this slide down? Anyone else? All right, let's look at an example. So finding X and Y intercepts, go ahead and write this concept down real quick. And then we're gonna go ahead and use this procedure they tell us. So to find the X intercept, let Y equals 0, solve for X. To find the Y intercept, let X equal 0, solve for Y. And then we're gonna go ahead and write that logic down, and we're gonna apply that logic to this equation here. We're gonna graph this equation to find the intercepts, and then we're gonna plot the intercepts and graph it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys about 3 minutes on this slide before we jump into it. All right, guys, so let's check out how it works out. Okay, so look at so we're gonna find the X-intercept first, right? So underneath the example, you're gonna write the word X-intercept. You can just do the shortcut INT. You're gonna do X comma 0, right? Which, if you think about it, X is X, Y is 0, right? Well, the Y value is 0, but check out the statement here. To find the X-intercept, we get Y equals 0, right? And then we solve for X, which is we don't know X, but we know Y 0. Same logic, right? From just this ordered pair, right? So now what does that mean? So take the formula X minus 3Y equals 6. Well, we know Y equals 0, so we know this Y value is gonna be 0. So let's plug it in. X minus 3 parentheses 0 equals 6. Well, 3 times 0, that's 0. That's X minus 0 equals 6. Well, X take away 0 is just X and bring down the 6. So now we have the X-intercept 6 comma 0. That's the first intercept. Now I'm gonna switch up my colors and now we're gonna find the Y-intercept. And remember, what's the ordered pair for a Y-intercept look like? I had you write it in the first slide. Well, we know X-intercept is X comma 0. Y-intercept is 0 comma Y. So now for this one, can someone tell me the logic behind it? So here we plugged in Y for 0. What are we gonna do for the Y-intercept? It is an example, so I guess I should tell you, right? But I'm pushing you to kind of be independent thinkers. Like, what do y'all think we're gonna be doing for the Y-intercept?
Multiply
Oh, multiply what? So what do we know for the
the
Y-intercept?
3 and the Y.
The 3 and the Y, right? So we, well, let's plug it in, right? What do we know so far for the Y-intercept? What did they tell us? X is what?
X is 0.
So then we get, remember the formula is X minus 3Y equals 6, right? So we know 0 minus 3Y equals 6. Well, 0 is nothing, so we can actually ignore that. So we have negative 3Y equals 6. Well, how do I get Y by itself? How do I move the negative 3?
Division.
Division, we're gonna divide by negative 3, correct? So then the negative 3's cancel, we get Y equals 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. We have Y, and as an ordered pair, it'll be 0 comma negative 2 parentheses, and we're done. We're not done though, we have to graph, right? So get your x-axis, so draw your y-axis, draw your x-axis. Now we have to graph 6, 0 and 0, negative 2. So 6, 0 is to the right, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're gonna go to negative 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. This is 6, 0, the blue one, and negative 2 is right here. And then get your ruler or a straight edge and then connect the two intercepts. And voila, we have our line. But this time, instead of finding a table like we did in the last lesson, we found two specific points. We found the what? The intercepts. The X and Y intercept. What questions do we have on the work or the setup? Because I'm about to throw you into a practice problem. Any questions here? Does anyone need more time to copy this before I move on to the next slide?
I'm just trying to find, I'm just trying to understand a little bit more about how to find, what was it, when you were doing for Y, solving for Y, I believe.
Okay, like the red, right? You're talking about the red?
Yes, the
Okay,
red.
so yeah, so you're trying to understand the logic, right? You want to understand what we did and why we did it?
Yes.
Okay, so the red, what are we finding for the red? What does that mean? Y-int. Y-int means what?
Y-intercept.
Good. And in the first slide, I showed you that a Y-intercept is in the form of what? 0 comma Y, right?
Oh, yeah,
So that means X is always gonna be what?
0.
And Y could be Y, right? Whatever Y is, right?
Yeah.
So now let's look at this, the procedure I wrote over here in the top.
Hmm.
To find the X and Y-intercept. So to find the Y-intercept, what are we gonna do?
Solve for
Solve
X,
for Y, but for what?
for X,
We're gonna let X what?
X-intercept.
Well, read the yellow highlighted part. What does it say there? X
X
is what? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so X equals 0.
Yeah. So we're gonna let X equal 0. Once we let X 0, what do we do next?
Solve for Y. So what you did was plug in just 0 for I mean, yeah, 0
what?
for X.
Yeah, 0 for X. So instead of X, what did I write? 0, right? So then you see that right here? X, I put 0 right underneath it, right here.
Yeah.
And then I brought down everything else, right? Negative 3Y equals 6, right? But zero in mathematics is just nothing, right? So 0 take away 3y is just negative 3y, right? We can just get rid of that, ignore that.
Hmm.
So that's why I wrote negative 3y equals 6 right here.
I understand. Thank you.
No, you're good. My biggest thing is as long as we get that connection, right? And then, oh, you said to get rid of the negative 3, we have to divide, right? Division. And what we do to one side, we do to the
Other.
other. And 6 divided by negative 3 gives us the
Negative.
-2. And look at where I plugged it in. We got y equals -2, right? And
Mm.
remember, all y-intercepts, all of them is 0, comma y, right? So
Mhm.
all we did is replace the y with what?
-2.
-2. There you go, right here. You see that?
So what we're doing, so what it basically is just plugging it, like substituting for whatever y
Exactly.
equals x equals. Okay.
Exactly. All that we plug in 0 for something depending what we're looking for, right? So for
Yeah.
y-intercept, we plug in 0 for x, right? For x-intercept, we plug in 0 for what?
Y.
There you go. Okay. And we're gonna get comfortable with it because I want you to try it out for this practice problem. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. Good luck. I'm gonna go ahead. How many minutes would y'all say y'all need? 2, 3, or 4 for this exercise? 2, 3, or 4 minutes?
Personally, I would say 3.
Okay, 3. Good. Anyone else? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a 3-minute timer. Good luck. I'll give y'all more time if y'all still working on it, okay? Brianna said 4. I'm gonna go ahead and switch it to 4 minutes, okay? Good luck, everyone. Try it out. All right, guys, that was 4 minutes. So remember, whenever you're looking for the answers, you're gonna need to plot in two different ordered pairs, okay, guys? So you can give me the X-intercept and then the Y-intercept. Make sure you write them with parentheses and comma in the middle. Remember, X-intercepts is X comma 0. Y-intercepts is 0 comma Y. So go ahead and plug in your intercepts on the chat. Put them in the same chat together, guys. So it should be like this. I'm gonna do it with just letters. Excellent, Caleb. That's correct. The great format. So Caleb, double check your order pairs, man. Make sure you have the correct intercepts in the correct, like the correct format. Sarah, that's the, remember it should be two order pairs. So if you look at my chat, guys, it'll be X comma 0 and 0 comma Y. So the X-intercept would be the X value goes with the X and then comma 0. That's the first one, right? And then the second one should be 0 comma the Y value. Excellent, Priscilla. Good job. Kayla, so Kayla, do you need me to explain anything of the process, like the algebra steps, or you just made a small mistake that you know how to do now? Like you're okay.
I just made a small mistake. I see our
Okay, good, good. So you're good. You're right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. Great job, Tanya. Awesome, Brianna. Awesome, awesome. Excellent, Sarah. There you go. That's the format that I needed. Because now with these two order pairs, can we graph a line with these two pairs? All right, so now we do need to be able to graph it, right, guys? So you create your X and Y axis, right? So X and Y. And then we have -4, 0. Be 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, and then -2 down here. And then just connect the two and we have the graph. Now, does anyone have any questions regarding this, how to do the work? Any questions at all? All right, now Daryl is gonna take over this slide because he wants to explain how to do a certain concept with the equation, solving for y or converting it from standard form to slope intercept. Go ahead, Daryl. You have the floor.
Hey, thank you, Professor Pacheco. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. But just to connect the concept before, in case anyone else may have the question, like it was the formula on one of the previous slides. That was y equals mx plus b. So basically, and let me, and audio is leaking through on my iPad. One moment here. Hopefully there's not much echo, but there we go, disconnect audio. Awesome, there we go. So that's the slope, that's the point slope form. And this number here is the y-intercept. So basically, to connect what Professor Pacheco showed us about how to solve for a variable, in this case, variable y, and how this relates to the intercepts. If you take this equation here and write x plus 2y equals -4, and I see this x standing out by itself over here. So I'll subtract x from both sides, and that'll leave a positive 2y over here. And it doesn't matter which order we put the 4 and the x. So the 4 and the x over here, the negative. So I'll just put the x first since it relates to the form we're going to. And then we have this 2 over here with the y. So I'll divide it by 2. And we have to divide the entire both sides. So this will cancel out. And that'll be y equals -x minus 4 over 2. And I'll draw a vertical line here to make a new column. And whenever you have two things in the numerator or any number of things divided by the same denominator, you can split those things in two. So I'll have y equals -x over 2 minus 4 over 2. And as you can see, we're getting closer to this form here. So this -x divided by 2, that'll be 1/2. So y equals -1/2 x. And that's going to be 2 minus 2. So this b will always relate to the y-intercept, which is why we have the -2 for the y-intercept. And this slope here, the m relates to basically the angle the line is at. So it's negative. That's why we saw that the line was going in that direction. So if you're curious how this form here relates, that's where it comes from. And this is always the y-intercept, and this is the slope. So you can have an idea of the angle, the direction the line is going in. Hopefully that came through clearly for everybody.
Excellent.
Is clear enough, Professor Pacheco?
Excellent. That was excellent, sir. Okay, good job, sir. Thank you. All right, all right, all right. Thank you, Daryl. Again, thank Daryl for showing us an extra way.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you. All right, guys. So now solving for y, being able to switch over from the standard form to the other side, it's actually another skill you need to know. Now, luckily, that skill is not really heavily used in this class, but it is going to prepare you or help you for the next class, or maybe I'll probably embed it later on, right? So good to know, good to know, good to know. Daryl, do you know how to, anyone still copying this before Daryl deletes this? Because I don't know how to delete it, but anyone need more time to copy this to how to solve for y?
So let me know, and I could erase it when needed.
All right.
Uh,
Did-
Let me get my pin connected again here.
Okay, let me know when you're good.
And the interface seems to be stubborn at the moment. Oh, here we go. Please excuse the delay.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. And thank you again for taking the time to explain that for the students. So hopefully, and then there is a whole thing on solving for y, guys, is actually a pretty cool thing to learn. Because if you wanted to graph it another way, when he rewrote it right as y equals -1/2 x minus 2, we could have made a table, right? X, y, 0, 1, and 2. Which do we know how to do? Yep, graph those points and then make your graph, right? There's a lot of applications for the stuff that we do in this class, right? That's what's kind of beautiful about mathematics. All right, in this example, guys, they want you to write all the intercepts that you see. So if you want to go ahead and make this sketch, I'll give you 2 minutes to write the question and make the sketch. So right here, you can see it's crossing between -2 and 4 right here. So this is going to be a -3 right here. And then here is a +1 and then a +7. So go ahead if you want to make your sketch, guys, real quick. I'll give you 2 minutes and then we'll jump into the question, okay? All right. All right, guys, look at this graph here. To the intercepts. Remember, we want to look for X-intercepts and Y-intercepts. For X-intercepts, how many times does this graph cross the X-axis? Go ahead and highlight them in yellow. That's 1, 2, and 3. So the first one is -3, 0. The next one is at 1, 0. And then the last one is at 7, 0. And then for the next one, and then Y-intercept. How many times do y'all see it across the Y-axis, guys? There's once.
Once.
So it'll be at 0, +2. And you'll plot these into your My Math Lab, press enter, and you are done. Okay. Any questions on this one, guys? Okay. Now, I do have a couple more slides to go, guys, but I do have to pick up my oldest today. His ride couldn't pick him up today. So are you guys okay if we end the lesson a little earlier today? And when we finish off these slides, there's only 4 more slides to go, and we finish this off on next week on Monday.
Yeah.
Excellent, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all for being so understanding. I really am sorry to cut short. So I'm going